Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel, and I am super excited about doing this video because I just want to make sure that I'm offering whatever I know to help everyone through this period. Now, today I'm going to be sharing 7 things, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, yes, 7 things to help you jumpstart a new business during this period. The reason that I'm really inspired to share this topic today is twofold. Number one, when I started my business, I was working a very demanding consulting job, also serving on the board of a nonprofit and very active in my church. And I didn't really have very much extra time on my hands, and I just couldn't imagine how much faster I could have moved when I first started my business if I had extra time, right, to do some of the things that I wanted to share about today. Some of these things took me over a year to get to, and these are things that you can literally do while you're at home quarantined. The second reason is that the last time we had an economic recession was in 2009, 2010. I remember this distinctly because I graduated right in the middle of that recession from college. Interesting times. But I wanted to share a few companies that were started during that recession. There's some of your favorites like Pinterest, even Uber was started during that period, Slack, Airbnb, and WhatsApp. And of course, we all know that all of these companies are thriving and making lots of money, even though they started in a period where there was a lot of panic and there was a lot of stress about the economic downturn in the United States. So that should get you excited and understanding that, even though these are not the greatest of times in the United States, we know we're going to be quarantined at least until the end of April. And, businesses are laying people off and there's just a lot going on, that this actually is also a time that you can work on that business that you've had in your heart for some time and maybe haven't been able to find the time. So today I'm sharing 7 things that you can do during this period with your extra time. Number 1, if you plan on selling products of any type, this is a great time to start working on a prototype. Now, if you're a Shark Tank junkie like me, then you know that most of these products that make it to Shark Tank and that do really well are assembled in people's garages and their living rooms and their basements, etc. People really use what they have at home, right? So this is a great time to experiment and start building that prototype, start building those proof of concepts, whatever it is, for the product that you plan on selling later in the future. Because once this quarantine period is over, we're going right back to the busyness of life, and you may not have as much time to do that. Number 2 is super important for any kind of business, whether it's a service-based business or a product-based business that you have in mind that you want to start, is to do research. This is a great time to read books by people who've done the things you want to do. There are books on everything out there. You can find them on Kindle, and of course I have my recommended book list linked in the description as well. You also can do research on Google, right? On the World Wide Web. There's so much that you can learn on Google about anything, about any topic, taking courses. There are lots of online courses. This is a great time to do research about whatever it is that you're planning to do, to figure out what your price points should be, what your profit margin should be, to figure out what costs might be associated with your business that you may not have considered before. This is a time to sit down and really research and figure out, just the inner workings of this business that you're going to eventually launch. Now, number 3 is similar, but begin to create informational content. Now, informational content is kind of like what I'm doing right now. I'm giving you information, but if you plan on selling a service or plan on selling a product, you want to create informational content around the thing that you sell. One thing I always tell people whenever I'm asked to speak about how I started my business, etc., is that I basically had to start my business 2 times. Once when I was in Jersey, and again when I moved to DC. Believe it or not, it was even harder when I was in the DC metro area because there were so many people who did exactly what I did, the exact niche and everything, which was multicultural and Nigerian weddings. Now, what basically allowed me to rise from the crowd and be able to build a name for myself so that I also could find clients was building informational content, making blog posts about the things that I know, making Instagram posts about the things that I know. So examples of that was I went on a venue visit. I took lots of pictures on my little rinky-dink cell phone. I think at that time I may have still had a BlackBerry. Gosh, Blackberries. But anyways, I went out there and took pictures on my cell phone. I built a blog post and talked about why this venue was a perfect venue for Nigerian weddings. And guess what? Someone eventually booked me just because of that blog post, right? Now, something else that I did that was informational content, posting things on social media, right? About venues that were great for, multicultural catering, things like that, just sharing what I know. So this is a great time to draft out what do I know about the thing that I'm planning on selling, right? Like if you're selling a service, just advice columns. And of course they should be short because people's attention spans are short, but coming up with just little bits of advice that you know that you can turn into a video, turn into an Instagram post, that you can turn into a blog, and just kind of curate those things so that once you're ready to launch, you have content ready to go that will draw people to your site and draw people to buying what you have to sell. It's really, really critical, especially when you're starting out. I still do this now, but of course, even more so when you're starting out, because you may not have proof of people buying your product or proof of people using your service, but you do have proof of what you know, and what you know will draw people to you to buy what you have. Number 4 is super important, but a headshot. This is a great time to invest in a headshot. Guys, there are multiple ways to go about this. Before I get into that, I want to mention that this is 2020, so people generally don't do those stiff headshots, you know, the ones that are like, yeah, we're not doing that anymore. So this is a great time to come up with a creative headshot. And there are multiple ways of doing this, right? There are, believe it or not, there are photographers out there who are offering virtual photo shoots, which they help you with just posing yourself and taking pictures of yourself. There are photographers that will come out and do an in-person photo shoot, right? Because again, taking a headshot only requires 2 people. And as of right now, in this period of social distancing, you want to stay out of groups of 10 or more, but a headshot only requires 2 people. So there are lots of independent photographers who will come out and can maybe do a headshot in your home, do a headshot outside, and it doesn't even require you guys touching each other or getting too close to one another. So that's something to consider. Even if you're at home and you're like, maybe I don't have the funds to invest into a headshot, you can really like get your children, get people around you to help you with getting cool photos of yourself, because this is 2020. People care about the person behind the brand, not just the stuff that you sell. So this is a great time to get a headshot for your website, get pictures for your social media, etc., and to just invest in that, because in the past you may not have been able to slow down enough to get this, but now that we've got time, this is time that you can invest into creating those headshots. This is really important to me. It took me forever to do, well, actually it took me forever to do this, but opening a business bank account. Guys, like I know that most of us know by now that the tax deadline was extended for this year, but one thing that makes filing your taxes every year so much easier is having a totally different bank account from your personal account to file your business away. Imagine this, like, of course, none of us ever want to get audited, but let's say you get audited from 5 years ago. How are you going to help the IRS to be able to tell the difference between the purchases that you made for yourself and purchases that you made for your business? Because I don't know about you, but sometimes I even go to places like Target to make purchases for my business, because maybe printer paper is cheaper at Target than it was at Staples. So 5 years from now, I'm probably not going to remember why I went to Target that day or what I bought, especially if I can't find the receipts. So guys, this is a great thing that you want to do. You want to separate your business expenses from your personal expenses. It's really critical. And if you're, if you're really serious about your business, I would recommend doing this from the very start. Like, this should be the first thing you do. I did this about a year into my business, but I would recommend that everyone does this from the start. Make a separate account where the only money that goes in there is money that you made for your business or that you're investing into your business, and the only money that you take out of that is money that you're spending on business expenses. This is like really critical and can save you a lot of time when you're filing your taxes, and of course keep you out of a lot of trouble if you ever do get audited. Something else to keep in mind that's super critical and important is you want to register your business. So number 6 is register your business legally. This is really important for protecting your business assets from your personal assets. You can do this online. You can start the process online of filing for an LLC or filing for a corporation or whatever partnership or whatever the structure is that you want for your business. This is a great time to really sit down, understand the differences between the structures, and pick one and to begin filing for one. I don't know, there may be some delays in the government with working through these just because of the shutdown, but you at least get through your part, which is filing during this period. So that's something that I would strongly recommend everyone to do during this time, because again, don't forget that as soon as this quarantine period is over, we're just going to go back to being super busy again. And it's only going to be harder to do it then than it is right now. So we've come to tip number 7, and this is my top tip, like the number one thing that I think everyone with a business idea should be working on in this period, regardless of what's going on. You have to work on this, and that is building a website. You need a website. No matter what, you need a website. Even in this age where Instagram is where a lot of people are hanging out, you still need a website for people who are looking for more information, who want to connect with you. You need to make it clear how people can connect with you and learn more about you, all right? Now, even if you've never built a website before, or if you don't have the funds to hire a graphic designer or a website designer for thousands and thousands of dollars, that's totally understandable. You can build a website for yourself, and I would recommend building one on Squarespace.com. By the way, both of the websites that I have, both for my business, Statuesque.com and Faciala.com, were built by these two hands. I built them myself. So you too can build a website for yourself and use WordPress for one. I use Squarespace for the other, and I find Squarespace to be really, really easy for those who may not be that technically inclined. If you're like, I'm not a technical person, I don't really do websites, I don't understand, Squarespace is the great place for you to go. I would strongly recommend it. And you can have a website for just over $100 a year built on Squarespace. It really doesn't get any better than that. And of course, you have access to make changes and edits, which is important when you're first starting out, because chances are you're going to change your mind about a few things. You may change your mind about your colors. You may change your logo. You may want to add products, remove products, change descriptions. So this gives you full range of access to make changes as you need them, as opposed to relying on a web developer or someone else to do it for you. So my number one tip during this period is to get on Squarespace, play with some templates, find something that you like and start to build it out, and really commit to it until you're done. Now, this may take you some weeks to build out a website because you're still playing with ideas and you may not really fully know which way you want to go, and that's totally fine. But this is the time where you have weeks and weeks to play with it, right? While you're home, while you have extra time, maybe in the mornings or in the evenings, maybe once the kids go to bed, etc. This is a time where you have extra time to work on these things, and I implore you to start on a website if you have not already done so, all right? So to recap, my 7 tips of what to do during this period. Number 1, start building a prototype if you're selling any kind of product-based business. If you're selling any kind of products. Now, my 7 tips, right? If you're working on any kind of business for this period and maximizing this period. Number 1, start working on your prototype. If you're working on any kind of product-based business, work on that prototype. Number 2, do your research. Take a course. Spend time on Google and on YouTube. You can learn a lot for free on Google and on YouTube. Get a coach, read some books, really do some research. Number 3, build informational content, really show the world what you know and why they should buy from you by showing what you know. Number 4, getting a headshot, all right? Pose for the camera, right? You want to get that headshot. Number 5, you want to open a business bank account. So separating your business funds from your personal funds. Number 6, you want to register your business. Set it up as a legal entity, registering your business. Number 7, you want to work on that website, all right? I really hope that this has been helpful for you. Again, there are some amazing businesses that were launched during the last recession, the last economic downturn that we had in the United States. So I'm really hoping that you're inspired to really invest just a couple hours a day into your business and into doing some of these things that I found hard to find the time to do when I first started my business, right? Use this extra time wisely. Now, if you're watching this video to this point, you are part of my e-fan, you watched this to the end, you got the tips, please do me a favor, subscribe, hit that little button, do me a favor, hit that little red arrow that says subscribe. Just subscribe to the channel because I share a new tip every single week and I want to make sure that you get it. Also, share this with someone that you may know. If you know anyone who's starting a new business, if you know anyone who has a business idea, share this with them. So to help, give them some ideas and get their juices flowing. All right, next week I have even more tips coming for those of you who already have a business. So if you know someone who already has a business and is wondering what to do during this period, there's so much more than we can do than to just kind of sit around and wait the quarantine out. There's a lot that we can do to build our existing businesses, and next week's video is all about that. So make sure you subscribe and come back next week to watch that video and to share it with your friends who already have businesses and who may be struggling during this period. All right, there are lots of things that we can do as business owners to continue building in this period, and I can't wait to share it with you guys then.